Welcome everybody. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly hoscale newsletter recap for December 1st, 2025. If you're new to this series, this is where we take a look at product updates and announcements in the hoscale community from a variety of different manufacturers. As always, before we get started, do me a favor and subscribe if you haven't already. It is completely free and helps me make a few dollars, so I really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, and try and make a comment if you're excited about anything we talk about here this week. I know I sure am. And of course, if I missed anything, so that I can go ahead and cover it next week. It's nice and snowy and cold here in Chicago, so it's absolutely model train season, so definitely time to get all these new announcements out of the way from the manufacturers. We'll go ahead and start off this week with Rapido, who have a ton of new announcements we'll talk about today. You've been looking at their table of contents, so I'll move right along. They've also put out a nice YouTube video on the different announcements that we'll cover in this episode. First up, the Alco C424s and 425s. Yes, addressing it in just a little bit, Jason talks about the Bowser conflict with both of these manufacturers coming out with C424s and 425s at very similar times. Here are some of the early renders that they have of the units. There is nothing very final on these yet. They are sort of pushing them for release and pre-orders due to the Bowser announcement. There's a little bit of history here on the page as well. Similar details here shown off on their S13s and RS23s shown here. This is not a pre-production sample yet of these models. We do have some nice prototype photos of the different road names and paint schemes that Rapido will be offering in their run of the Centuries. I'll let you take a look at some of the details here in the text as well as the images here. Very nice details. Some of them will be the 424M modified versions. Really neat prototype shots. And of course, if I'm moving too quickly, feel free to pause at any time and take a look at all the interesting text here. Just trying to keep us moving here since we have so much to talk about today. Here is the full list of features on the Rapido Century units. One of the main differences between their run and that of Bowser is the metal handrails on Rapido. Very similar levels of detail for the rest of the unit. I believe this unit should have the lighting in the control stands that we've seen on the GP40s and other related units. Here is their statement here talking about the Bowser release, which they don't call out by name, which is kind of odd, but that is absolutely who they are talking about here. They have already put a lot of work into the design and scanning of a unit, so they're not going to cancel the project. They are just moving forward and giving you the best view of what schemes they will be offering in this run. Here are the 424s. Once again, no renders yet. These are prototype shots, which is similar to what we get from Bowser actually. Just grabbed my first pair of Bowser units and was very impressed so far. They're SD40-2Ws. You can check out my review on those as well. Lots of neat schemes there for the 424s, and here are the 425s. Main difference between these is the extra horsepower. Fairly similar bodies. Nice list of different versions there, just to compete once again with Bowser. Hopefully all goes well between the two. I know they've worked together in the past, so just want to keep everybody on good terms as well. There is currently no order deadline set for these Rapido models, although Bowser has announced theirs. But that's something that they've pushed forward to announce those. A surprise announcement is another set of GP40s, including some neat schemes here. First up are the Western Pacific bicentennial units, 1776 and 1976, which ScaleTrains has done, so this will be a head-to-head competition between them. These are only sold as a pair and come in this nice wooden box. These are limited to 200 sets for those units. And here's an additional render of the rear. Very nice details on these units. Lots of details on the handrails that were added as part of the bicentennial conversions for these units. And here are the two pieces of artwork for 1776 and 1976. All of these GP40s we'll talk about here today have a set production number and are already in production. So if you're interested in grabbing some, there's no pre-order deadline. Once they are gone from Rapido, they are gone. So very limited quantities if you're interested in any of these. Next up we have MKT. We have the standard red as well as their bicentennial unit down below. Number 200 with a neat American flag scheme there. There are only 75 of the delivery red and only 150 for the bicentennial scheme for these MKT models. Overall very similar to the Western Pacific units. And models that I'm extremely excited for are the Illinois Central Final 4. These are the last GP40Rs still in the IC paint scheme, and they have features specific to how they appear today. So I have already gone ahead and pre-ordered 2 of these. I would absolutely love to grab all 4, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Here are some prototype shots of the units. These are actually the 2 that I have on pre-order, 3108 and 3138. Here's a list of the individual features on each of these units. You can see they are quite specific. And the standard features of their GP40s and the GP40R, which I already have a pair of, the IC unit as well as an XIC CN unit. Here's the artwork for all 4 of these IC models. There's only 100 per road number, so absolutely get your orders in as soon as possible. I grabbed mine through Lombard Hobbies, really hoping I got an allocation. Rapido has said that these should arrive somewhere in Q2 of 2026, so that is the estimated time frame for all 3 of these different GP40s. You'll notice there's some neat features like replaced doors on those IC units that I think are absolutely incredible. Also, a model that was teased for a while and finally announced, and many people in the Chicagoland area will be super happy about. More Metra models. These are the Rock Island and Milwaukee versions in particular. Here are some of the renders. This is the Milwaukee Road version. This one is pre-Ditchlight era. And some of the models still in service. Very pleased with my first run of them. They are the Metra BNSF in the first run. We have some similar ones, Metra RTA, coming in this run. Also coming are cars that have had their cab windows blanked over, because modern day Metra only uses the Nippon Chariot cars as cab cars, so the ex-Bud cars have been plated over on the rear. Here's some of the details coming on the car, very similar to the first run of them. You can add a DCC sound decoder into the model fairly easily as well. They do come with capacitors already installed. Here is the full list of the road names and paint schemes coming. A few different versions there for Milwaukee Road with the cab car and the coaches, as well as Rock Island up on top. We have Metra RTA in the middle, with both a pre-Ditchlight and Ditchlight era model. And finally, Metra BNSF with the plated windows down at the bottom as well. These are going to be super popular once again, so absolutely get your pre-orders in. There's no set pre-order date yet, but of course I'll remind you when that does get announced. And moving on to another HO scale announcement, we have more E-units. These are modernized HEP equipped units, another run of these. This includes some of the roads that we just talked about, like Milwaukee Road and Rock Island, which will go perfect with those gallery commuter cars. Here are some nice prototype shots of many of these E-units heading out of Chicago. Very weathered in service there. And a nice clean one as well. They're also including Conrail 4022, the only one to receive the can opener blue paint scheme, which was also included in their last run of E-units in the modern OCS scheme, or more modern scheme. Nice for the Susquehanna as well. And here's the full list of the E-unit features. Pretty similar once again to their previous runs of E-units, especially the HEP equipped units with capacitors already installed. Here's the full list of the designs for these. Very interested in probably grabbing a Chicago Northwestern unit just because I think it looks very neat. And finally, there's the Conrail model at the bottom. Once again, no pre-order deadline quite yet for these, but just like the last run with the BN units, expect these to be fairly popular. And moving on to a model that was teased once again for quite a while, the Trenton Works 6637 cubic foot BC rail boxcar, which is used quite heavily in that sequence in Rapido's video. I would absolutely recommend you check that out. I had a good laugh. Here is the product samples of these models that are currently already in stock. Saw them at some of the shows as well as some review videos, and also popping up in many people's mystery boxes as well. If you did grab one of those, please let me know what you got in one. I don't think I'll be able to grab one this year, but it seems like some of the BC Rail boxcars, as well as a lot of H1644s, are in those. Here is the Rapido version. This is actually being sold at a little bit of a discount, as they want more Rapido stock on people's railroads, interestingly enough, as well as a patched over Railroad of Lies version. Here's the full list of features on these Trenton Works boxcars, and the full list of paint schemes. The one at the top is the standard delivery green, and then everything else is a faded, weathered look. Of course, Railroad of Lies at the bottom. Details look great. I'm hoping to grab a few of maybe the standard BC Rail boxcars just because I really love the BC Rail green. And moving on to an N-scale announcement that we'll move through pretty quickly, but just want to highlight here a run of wide vision cabooses that have track-powered lighting instead of the original battery-powered lighting. Here are some of the early renders. Also TTX with AC units. Nice underbody details on these cars and the full list of features. There are 27 different paint schemes coming in this run, which is quite incredible. So if you are an N-scale fan, this is your time to get the wide vision caboose. Some bicentennials in there for Burlington Northern. But pretty much every major railroad is represented. Seems to be similar details except for the track-powered lighting from the first run, but heard good things about those from the N-scalers out there. And moving on to some shots of their models in the wild. The SD10s recently delivered. Heard good things about those as well. A nice 44-tonner for New Haven. Rapido will be with Trainland, or Train World, if you will, on December 21st if you're interested in tuning in or stopping by the store at that time. And of course, they'll be at Amherst on January 24th and 25th, so stay tuned for my recap of that show. Always a very fun one. Here's the full list of the factory updates. A few personal things to point out. The BC Rail boxcars in stock, the Supercontinental Line coaches shipping in December, as well as the sleepers coming in January. I have one of each of those in the Rapido schemes at half price, the original price for those models. Hoping to grab one of the steel riveted caboose for Rio Grande. I think they are very nice, as well as the Auto Floods and Greenbrier Reefers leaving the factory soon, so estimated sometime in February, so stay tuned for those. Here are some new samples. These ones we took a look at last week of their CF7s. These are the first decorated samples. Of course, the Los Angeles Junction, the only one with ditch lights. Here are some production photos of the GP40s. CN up top, and then some cabs down below. We also have some new samples of their U25Bs. There are 3 different versions up there. Here are the Seabird Coastline and CSX versions, and then the Milwaukee Road down below. And finally, the Southern Pacific. The FTs are also in production. Here are Great Northern and Milwaukee Road. And some nice shots of their M60A1 tanks on their DODX flat cars that already delivered. As well as the gun mounts. Pretty good details there. And finally, some center beams. Those are the HO scale versions. Reminder, they also announced them in N scale as well as the wrapped lumber loads. Nice print details. And finally, more renders of their HEP2 and HEP1 cars for Via Rail. Love the details on the end. There's a shot of them in person. But that's all here for their newsletter. We'll go ahead and take a look at one final sample shot from Rapido. And now for one set of sample photos that didn't make it into their newsletter. This is the first samples they have of their northeastern cabooses in HO scale. Looking pretty good. Here is a better close-up with some more of those details pointed out. And just a reminder of the different paint schemes coming in this run. This is the second time they've done these cabooses. But that's all we have here from Rapido for this week. Let's move on to Broadway Limited. And moving on to Broadway Limited's November 2025 Broadway Flyer with a quick recap of a lot of their November new product announcements to start. First up at TrainFest, they announced the Santa Fe BNSF William Barstow Strong in a bunch of different schemes throughout its life. Here's a quick history about the model. I'll move fairly quick since we have seen this before, but just a quick reminder for you. These are still available for pre-order through March, so you got some time to decide if you'd like one of these and which version. First up are the Santa Fe track inspection car schemes through 1990. And then after a rebuild up through 1995. That's the version that'll go perfect with 3751. After the merger to Burlington Northern Santa Fe in the green text, as well as the BNSF swoosh logo applied in 2008. Another rebuild through 2013. And finally, the present day 2018 onward scheme. They are also doing an undecorated version to add to your own layout if you don't model Santa Fe or BNSF that you can add on to the end of your business car fleet. Here's a quick list of all the model features. Lots of lighting on these models, just like the other business cars Broadway Limited has brought out as well. Excited to see the Fox River deliver in the next couple months. So we'll be able to see Broadway Limited's first inspection car. Once again, order deadline is Thursday, March 5th, with an estimated fall 2026 delivery. Announced last week were the NS Lanebark series, SD70 ACEs, and N-Scale for BLI. These were added on to the run. Unfortunately, it's too late to add it to the HO scale run. So for N-Scalers, order deadline for that is January 22nd, estimated next summer. Here's a quick render of those units. And another model announced last week was a new run of GP35s in HO scale. Order deadline for these is February 12th, with a summer 2026 delivery. We took a look at these last week. BNSF with the GP39-2 rebuilds, some Conrail units, Savannah and Atlanta, as well as the single SU line in the bicentennial scheme. Some nice UP models. There are additional schemes including a Christmas scheme and some Hobby Express exclusive with some Wheeling and Lake Erie and other Ohio Eastern U.S. railroads that are available just through Hobby Express. Took a look at those last week as well if you're interested. A couple order deadlines, just final reminder on these. The UP Early Challengers as well as the Railroad Instruction Cars are due on December 4th, both estimated to arrive next summer. There's a quick shot of the different versions of the Early Challengers coming in this run, as well as some more renders here with their ornate paint scheme, which sounds like it's been selling quite well. And here are the railroad instruction or exhibit cars. Once again, not prototypically accurate, but pretty good stand-ins until these cars are eventually made with road-specific details. Still very nice models with some neat paint schemes. And now for something new, moving on to the success of their theater cars, the next one in line will be the Conrail number 9. Neat features on this model, so I'm excited to see more renders of this car moving forward as they continue through the development process. They will also be planning on doing CSX versions of this car too, so we'll get both Conrail and CSX announced at the same time, it sounds like. And just some updates here on their current projects. Diecast SD70 ACEs, those models not with the Norfolk Southern Landmark series yet, en route to dealers. The Power Car, I'm very excited, should be arriving mid-December, as well as the Class D Shays. So I know many of you have been waiting for that for quite a while. F3s and F7s probably shipping out in the next week or so. And there is that Fox River, should be arriving in January. They have not announced the next Conductors Club locomotive yet. Those ES44s in the last run are still on their way. Nice videos in the news from James with the SD45s. Seemed like a very nice model, as well as the Steam channel with their heavyweight passenger cars. And Ken walked us through the details of the SD45s if you're interested in all of those YouTube videos. Here is the current up-to-date delivery schedule as of the posting of this video. Lots of models there coming in December. And trickles down a little bit, moving through the spring, with a bunch more coming next summer. Lots of brass hybrids coming in the new year. And Broadway Limited also hosts a nice Q&A at the end here. I'll just highlight some of my favorites. Since Broadway Limited has been doing so many business cars, looks like they may look into making more designs of standard business cars rather than the one-offs if the current models sell well. Designs for the 484 2926 should be announced in 2026, which is awesome. No Conductors Club locomotive announcement yet for either HO or N-Scale. You can do separate lighting functions for the tenders while in Pro mode. They are also working on Northern Pacific steam locomotives, which is awesome. Of course, their bestseller is the Big Boy. They are currently working on the Pennsy G5, which is really neat, so excited to see that progress. Unfortunately, they aren't looking to make any Santa Fe Blue Goose. They are doing a bunch of the fantasy versions. That order deadline passed us last month or so. Sounds like they still have some in stock. I haven't seen any around in Lombard or so, but I also haven't been looking. AC9s and AC12s currently in the design phase. Not sure when that announcement will be. They're currently not working on CP business cars, but maybe if the current ones do well. But that's all we really have from Broadway Limited for this week. Let's move on to Atlas. And now on to Atlas and their fall-winter announcements. Everything that we'll talk about here today has a pre-order deadline of January 7th, so just keep that in mind. Same for everything here. First up in their master line, SD24s and 26s. Some new paint schemes here, some nice patch jobs for Illinois Central Gulf, Precision National, both ex-Southern units, as well as the Wisconsin Central patch FRV. All of those high hoods, of course. Next up in their Collector's Edition, DM&IR. This one does have ditch lights, although not shown here in the product artwork. The only low hood SD24 is for Union Pacific. We got BN, also high hood. And now on to the SD26s. We have a Springfield Terminal Santa Fe patch. You can see a little blue line going through the Santa Fe lettering. We have Santa Fe in their bicentennial scheme. We'll see a few more bicentennial announcements from Atlas. And finally, the standard Santa Fe paint scheme, as well as some nice history here on the SD24s and 26, if you're interested. Here's a quick look at the pricing, as well as the full list of road names and road numbers. This is the Silver Series pricing, the DCC Ready models, and the full list of features here. It is worth noting that the bicentennial SD24 is a fantasy scheme. Here is the pricing for the sound-equipped models with lock sound for the SD24s and 26s. Those should arrive in the fourth quarter of 2026. Moving on to the next announcement, we have a new run of S4s from Atlas. Here are some of the new paint schemes coming in this run. We have some neat variations for Green Mountain with two different versions, as well as the Monongahela Connecting Railroad Bicentennial and US Steel. Interesting inclusions there. And some new road numbers for Nacionales de Mexico, or NDM, and zebra stripes for Santa Fe. Always a neat paint scheme. Here's a quick list of all of those road names and road numbers coming in this run, and the pricing for the DCC Ready Silver Series models, with some history here for you. And now on to their gold line. These are also estimated in the fourth quarter of 2026. And it's worth mentioning, this is the MSRP, of course, so I would definitely recommend reaching out to your dealer to get a better price on these models. Next up in their classic line, RS3s, RSD4s, and 5s are also coming. New paint schemes here for the RS3s. A few neat ones there. And then a pair of Collector's Series schemes. We have the Black River and Western, as well as Ohio Central for the RS3s. And now on to the RSD4s and RSD5s. A couple new paint schemes with Southern Pacific and the Utah Railway's Bicentennial. And some new road numbers for Jersey Central and Utah Railway. Here is the full list for the DCC Ready models, and some history on all the RS3s and RSD4s and 5s. These are also estimated to arrive in the fourth quarter of 2026. Pricing here for the sound-equipped models, as well as some more details with the lock sound decoder. Moving on to some rolling stock, we have in their master line FMC 5077 single-door boxcars. Bunch of new paint schemes here at the top, a couple patch jobs there for X-Railbox units, as well as some new road numbers and an Atlantic and Western faded scheme in their Collector's Series. Here's the full list of those road numbers, and some history and features. These are also estimated to arrive fourth quarter of 2026. Also in Atlas's master line is the 53-foot Evans double plug door boxcar. First up are the new paint schemes. I do like the Tropicana scheme with the billboard on the side, as well as an agriculture scheme at the bottom. Here is the full list of the different road names and road numbers, with a pair of new road numbers for Virginia Central and USLX. And just like most of the other models, fourth quarter 2026 estimated delivery. Next up, still in their master line, is the 73-foot center partition car, perfect for lumber loads. Here are the new paint schemes. As well as some new road numbers for a few railroads as well, with some TTX variations. Here's a nice history blurb on these center partition cars, or center beams. And a prototype shot of the St. Mary's Railway coming in this run. And the full list of the road numbers and road names, also expected fourth quarter 2026. Interesting to note that they call out the minimum radius as 12.5 inches, which is one of the smallest minimum radiuses I've ever seen. Just something I'd like to point out there. Next up, some limited edition boxcars. These are the 50-foot post-war single-door boxcars with a lot of bicentennial schemes. Alaska Railway, Conrail, ICG, and the Santa Fe coming in this run. Perfect for the bicentennial. Here is the full list. These are expected in third quarter 2026. And some nice details of those boxcars. Now on to Atlas's Trainman line, a little bit less detail, but still very good rolling stock. The ACF 3560 covered hoppers. Here are some new paint schemes. We've got 4 new ones coming in this run, as well as some new road numbers for these 3 down below. These are estimated to arrive fourth quarter 2026, and the full list of the road names and road numbers coming in this run. Moving on. Also in their Trainman line is the 85-foot trash flat cars, which I guess I was a little bit wrong. Sorry about that. These have been made before by Atlas. When we took a look at that teaser announcement, I mentioned that they were brand new. I was incorrect. All good there, but we do have some new road numbers for some of the schemes that they have made before, shown off there. Here's the full list of the new paint schemes and road numbers. And we have one final new paint scheme down at the bottom as well, also estimated late 2026. And final new announcement, to go perfect with those trash flat cars are the high cube MSW containers. So if you have some from a previous run, or flat cars that is, and you'd like to add some containers, you can purchase the containers separately, or go ahead and mix and match these containers with the containers that come with the models. Here is the full list of those for you, also estimated fourth quarter 2026. And a pair of new paint schemes also coming in this run. But that's all we have here for Atlas's new announcements. Reminder, everything here has a pre-order deadline of January 7th, 2026. Let's go ahead and check out some new product samples from Atlas as well. And one final update here from Atlas, we have some beautiful product samples of their upcoming Dash 8s. This is all the Conrail schemes with some different detail variations. According to Atlas's product page on their website, sounds like these are in transit as of November 20th, but I'm not sure exactly when they will arrive. I'll update you if I see anything new. We have this very neat X Conrail ICCN patch unit with the replacement air conditioner that was roaming the rails for quite a while. Seems to be pretty good details on these models, definitely an upgrade from previous runs. So I'm excited to see these deliver. Pre-orders have closed on Atlas's website, but you can definitely still reach out to your dealer to try to get a pre-order in if you're interested. But that's all we have here from Atlas for this week. Let's move on to ScaleTrains. And moving on to ScaleTrains, first up a reminder about limited availability on their Pullman Standard 5820 covered hoppers in their rivet counter line. Here is the current stock levels as of Friday. Reminder, always check with your dealer or local hobby shop if you're looking to grab some. They may still have some in stock if ScaleTrains is out. Also in stock are some of their GB30s. Here is a feature on their chassis and CSX patch versions of these. A little bit of history here for you, as well as some model details for the CSX versions. And the full list of the road names and paint schemes in this run. Some of them have sold out. Of course, this one did have the GP39Es for BN with the neat strobe lights, GP30Ms, and GP30Us. Also still in stock are more of their SD7s and SD9s. Here's a feature on the CB&Q version of these, with some history as well as model-specific details for the CB&Q. And the full list of the road names and paint schemes for the SD7s and SD9s in this run. Still very happy with the SD7R I grabbed, 1580, still at the IRM, always need to have one of those. Also recently arrived is the third run of mechanical reefers. This is back to the roofline icicles scheme and the 7,883 cubic foot versions of these. Pretty much the same externally except for paint scheme and cage differences around the reefer unit. Here's a full list of the road names and paint schemes in this run. The N-scale versions of the same run are expected in January if you're interested in some of those. And they still have a few of the second run. These are the logo icicle versions, still in stock with ScaleTrains. I did see a bunch of these still in stock at Lombard Hobby, so I'm sure at other dealers and hobby shops they'll have a few of these as well. Those also came in sound and non-sound versions. A second set of models that just arrived as well is the next run of finger rack flat cars in HO scale. Here is the Oxide Red TTX version, with some unique COTS label details, some information on that, as well as the full list of the road names and paint schemes, including a few hypotypicals in this run as well. ScaleTrains put out a nice video on their SD38-2s, featuring all the different schemes in this next run of the 38-2s, including the Bessemer and Lake Erie, one of my favorites there in this run. I don't think I'll be able to grab any, but it is a very nice model from what I've seen so far. This is not the first time ScaleTrains has done these, but in this run we have a ton of different versions here. As you can see listed out a couple of patch units for GATX, as well as the McLeod River, which I've heard has been pretty popular as well. And if you are a DM&IR fan, absolutely grab those units, as well as the PSC 70-ton ore cars in the Fox Valley Models line. Those should be arriving this spring. There are some quantity buy discounts for the 4-packs available. Also recently arrived were the final 3 CSX Heritage units. This is a feature on the RF&P. Some history and model details. These ones do come in a cool blue CSX Heritage box on the outside. Those are those 3 schemes, as well as the 4 in the most recent delivery of those CSX Heritage ES44s. They have completed all of the ES44s that CSX has done so far. They've also put out a nice time to model article following Matt as he builds a T-track layout. If you're interested in following along, you can get to that from their website. And a reminder about their discount depot, where they have refurbished locomotives and rolling stock. Here's a full list of some of the models that are on there. They give you some of the details on the models, but not a full description or pictures of them. I'm sure if you reach out to them, they might be able to give you pictures of the exact item. I have not tried that personally. Quick billing update reminder, those 4 models that just arrived, 38-2s, the last run of CSX Heritage units, the third run of Trinity Reefers, as well as the finger rack flat cars, are reserved with ScaleTrains through this Friday, December 5th. So if you have a pre-order with ScaleTrains, make sure you pay that to make sure you grab those models. N-scale AC44C6M should be billing this week, so look out for those. And a quick reminder of their holiday hours before we get into the Christmas season. We'll see some more updated hours in the next couple weeks. But that's all we have here from ScaleTrains for this week. Let's move on to Walthers. And moving on to the Walthers E-Update, first model featured in their mainline series is the 40-foot double-sheathed wood boxcar. If you'd like to grab some, perfect for 1960s all the way up through 1980s. Bunch of different paint schemes currently in stock if you'd like to grab them from Walthers. Also in stock is their mainline Plymouth ML8 switcher, or Critter as they're called as well. Neat model, very small one if you'd like to grab one, perfect for an industrial spur. Available for pre-order are the Morgan Olson delivery vans. These we talked about in the last product announcements video. Should be arriving mid next year. Walthers has also put out their holiday gift guide. It was sent out to their mailing list, so check your email if you're on that, as well as available on their website if you're interested in shopping at Walthers for this holiday season. Additionally, you can purchase BLI's SD70 ACEs in HO scale from Walthers directly, or your local hobby shop, or BLI directly, whatever works best for you. Seeing some good things about these models: full die-cast frame. They do have BLI's GoPack capacitors installed. Lots of pulling power, pretty good details on them. Next run is due to arrive with an N-scale run coming in the spring. But that's all we have here from Walthers for this week. Let's move on to Athearn. And moving on over to Athearn, first up, a pre-order reminder for two models whose pre-orders actually were due by last Friday, November 28th, but I'm sure if you reach out to your dealer, they should be able to get you in. First up is the Genesis 2.0 release of their GP38-2s with the lit number boards and class lights, a nice upgrade from their previous runs. Here's a quick flash of each of the road names, one road number in each of those really in this run. We took a look at all of those in detail a couple weeks ago when they were announced, if you're interested in that video. Also available for pre-order are their RS3s in their standard Athearn line. Here's a quick list of all of those different road names coming in this run. They definitely did a whole bunch of these RS3s. And recently, many manufacturers have been making those. We just talked about Atlas earlier. Bowser is also doing them. Quick spotlight on their Train Tuesday on their YouTube channel and their Roundhouse line 30-foot flat cars. And some neat product development shots. First up, their Genesis FP units. Here is Milwaukee Road and Amtrak. These should be shipping out in February 2026. I've always loved Athearn for F units. And another sample here of their standard Athearn line, SD40-2s. These should also be delivering in mid-March, so good news there. Athearn's also hiring. If you're interested in working for them, shoot them your resume. Happy Thanksgiving as well. I didn't call it out directly. Hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. Very thankful to have all of you here. And a quick list of their upcoming holiday hours. But that's all we have here from Athearn for this week. Let's finish off with a quick message from Bowser. And moving on to Bowser, just a quick update for you that I saw. Originally, 5341 in this run of SD40-2Ws did not have its snow shields installed, so those have arrived at their warehouse. So if you do have number 5341, go ahead and shoot Bowser a message and they'll be able to ship those snow shields out and you'll be able to install them on the model. Still very happy with mine so far. Great runners. Would definitely check out my review if you're interested in grabbing one of those, but just wanted to share that update since I saw it as well. But with that, I'll go ahead and end off this week's video here. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you made it this far, please consider subscribing. It is completely free. Helps me to make a few dollars, so I really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, or just want to help out the algorithm. Drop me a hype if you have that feature available, and drop me a comment if you're excited about anything we talked about here today. Let me know what you're getting in mystery boxes or any new additions to your layout, and let me know if you're able to snag any good deals on trains for Black Friday or Cyber Monday. I, fortunately for my wallet, only grabbed one set of models that I talked about before, so if you'd like to take a guess, that package just arrived, so look for a video this week. But if you grabbed anything neat, I'd love to know. But thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.